One of the things that people have said regarding the high school was that they thought it sounded really nice, but they were concerned that their children were not strong readers, and it is a very reading intense program. And so as a result of that, what we did is we decided to launch a dual track in the high school regarding the reading program. And so basically what they normally do is we go through about 40 books a year typically in the regular program, so it's very intense reading. They do a lot of reading, about 50 pages a night is pretty typical. But they normally read 2 books at once. So the reduced program would basically be you would read through one of the 2 books, all right? Which means that I don't have to do a separate lecture because they can just listen to the part of the lecture that's on that book, and when I go to the second book, they can either go and do homework, you know, put their headphones on and start doing homework and ignore the rest of the lecture, or I suspect a lot of them will decide to listen to the other book even though they're not reading it, just so they have an idea of what it's about. That's probably what will happen with that. But it will roughly cut the amount of reading in half for that, which will cut down, probably take an hour, hour and a half off of the homework load.
So they'll be able to pick which book they want to read? Oh, okay. So
No, because the books are divided into 2 categories called primary and secondary, and they will read the primary book because it's the more important of the 2.
Right.
And they will be tested on that one
Exactly.
and not the other one,
Yep.
but they can be in the class and listen
Mm-hmm.
to.
Yeah.
Okay. Now what about the books of the Bible? Would they be reading?
They will do
all
all the books of the Bible. Those are primaries. Books of the Bible are primaries that they'll get a chance to go through with that. The books of the Bible, the first 2 years are taught by Pastor Welmer currently. Year 1 is Old Testament books that are historical books. So it would include Genesis, Exodus, 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, those types of books. And also some of the wisdom books, like they go through Psalms and Proverbs and some of those in the first year. The second year, which he's doing right now, they begin the year by going through the prophets. And so they're looking at the prophecies leading up to then going into the New Testament era where they start doing the Gospels and some of the epistles. So they do Matthew and Luke for the 2 Gospels that they do sophomore year, and then I think he's in Galatians now, somewhere in there. They've already gone through Romans and some of the others as well. And then the last 2 years they do the remaining books of the Bible in there as well, but they're kind of interspersed throughout there. We're doing Revelation right now with the seniors, so that's always an interesting one. They always want to do that one early on, and I always say, you're not ready for that one yet. Yes.
So to clarify, how much homework a night there is there a difference between freshman, senior?
No, and that's one of the questions that one of the new students this year had asked me is, when she was feeling a little overwhelmed, she said, Mr. Merritt, does the homework load ever get any less? And I said, sure, eventually you graduate. No, it's designed to be intense the whole way through and to keep them working. Now, there's a couple reasons for that. One of which is, I've got my sons in there as well. And there are certain nights where I've finished everything and I've got time to maybe watch a TV show for a little bit or do something on my own. And I'm sitting there looking at my son who's still plowing through homework, and I feel a little bit bad sometimes when it goes that late. But in general, do I want him busy? Yes, because teenagers make really lousy choices when you give them free time. Okay, they do. They don't choose good things that are good for them to do. And so I would rather that he do that than veg out with a video game for 4 hours.
Yes, I was going to
Right?
say that's where
But
they would be.
how much homework do they normally do? 3.5 hours if you're on the regular program is a typical homework load.
It seems more at first, and when you, it's a little
They learn
bit
to
different
manage it
than when you're in elementary, as far as figuring out your rhythm on how to start doing your homework. My son struggled the first couple of months. He was not blessed with the expedience gene though, so he takes his time and everything, but as soon as he figured out his method and how to do the assignments in what order and make sure everything was coordinated for his way of doing things, it got much easier on him. And he's a walking testimonial for somebody who loves this school.
I do some of the high school study halls, and they make excellent use of their study hall time.
They do now, yes.
Yes, they have.
At first, they were under the impression that it was still like the junior high where you could talk a little bit during study hall and waste a little bit of time and still get most of your homework done. If you do that, you're going to be plowing through hours of homework a night. You have to use the study time that's given wisely, and you have to use it to plan through. I would guess if you go on the reduced program, it would shave an hour to an hour and a half off of the nightly study time if you go on the reduced program. Because you're cutting down the amount of reading, and there's questions that you answer on those as well, so it greatly reduces the amount of time. A lot of it depends on how strong of a reader you are, and more importantly, how disciplined you are. Discipline has a lot to do with that. My oldest son takes forever to get his homework done and gets B's and A's in there. My second son is done before him almost every night and pulls straight A's, okay, because he is disciplined. So when he sits down, you can't say, well, it took 5 hours to do the homework if 2.5 of it was whining. Okay? It didn't really take that long then. If you stop the whining and get with it, I mean, he'll sit there and arrange things on his desk and just keep moving things around. I'm like, just do it! It drives me crazy. But that's kind of how that works with that. So discipline is important for that. One of the things that I like about the program also is it gives them the opportunity to learn that I get to give real life examples of that because, for example, the older students had said, can we help you grade a few of the things that are just, you know, straight, simple answer type things? And they thought that that would be fun. And they did that for about 3 days, and then they said, how can you do this every day? I said, well, that's what I'm trying to teach you in this program is even adults have to do stuff that's not that much fun sometimes. And it's part of growing up to learn to finish something because it's your job to finish it. And you learn to do that through practice, habituation, like Aristotle was saying. It's not an automatic switch that you flip someday and all of a sudden you're a responsible person. And those of you in the business world probably have some of these people working in your company who never learned that are sitting there Facebooking and everything else during business hours because they never learned to work hard and to do their duties. And that's a big strength of our program. It really does that.
They also become very close-knit and very close family.
Yeah, there's advantages to the smallness and there's disadvantages. I always tell them that one of the things that's a disadvantage and an advantage is it's small, so it's like a family. That's an advantage with all the blessings of a family, and it's also they get on your nerves just like your family does, okay? I mean, it does. It happens. We get on each other's nerves every once in a while, and then we have to deal with that. But it's a great teaching opportunity for them to learn to deal with it from a gospel basis and to remember that we're all sinners and that we all need forgiveness. So it's a great opportunity to do that as well. We would love to get more students in there. For those of you that are wondering, well, if the world was a perfect place and the school could grow to its maximum size, how large would the school want to get? Understand, it is never our intent to be Prince of Peace size. That is not the intent of Faith Lutheran. Okay, we do not want to be a 900-person school. We want to be a school that has a smaller feel to it because it allows us to maintain the personal attention and those types of things that go along with that. In the high school, it would be great if we had 80 to 100 students. That would be a great size in the high school. If you had somewhere in that range, you could still do some of the discussion things, and you could have sports, and you could have things like that if you had that many students.
Where would you put that many students?
A new building. If we grow that much, we need a new building.
I'm just wondering.
Yeah,
I mean, I know
you need a new
we
building.
as a school could grow a couple hundred and still be comfortable here,
Right.
but
No,
to add
you'd-
that many
you'd have to-
upstairs
yeah,
on
no,
there.
we'd have to have more space.
Okay.
If it exploded like that, you probably would start with portables and then build something in. That's probably what you'd have to do with that. Because we had talked about that when the school was still larger. As the high school grew, do you move them out into portable units or whatever else? I mean, there's all kinds of different options for that if it starts growing again. Which we hope it will with the new development person that's coming on. And hopefully we'll hear from Reverend Keyser before too long.
At its peak, how big was the high school?
The high school had 18.
It hasn't been around that long yet.
Sixth year of operation. It's the 6th year right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still small. So it's only the second graduating class. Only second graduating class. So.